is Jon Ludiwg. I'm the president and founder of Novi Labs. Today I'm just going to walk you through a quick 5 minutes on what Novi Labs does as a company, how that helps our customers, and what workflow we actually use to do the work that we do. So I'll start with kind of our tagline. We make accurate forecasts fast. So the problem that Novi was founded 6 years ago to solve was to help customers understand and very quickly ascertain how wells might perform under very different development circumstances. So different subsurface conditions, different spacing, stacking, timing, and stimulation volumes. So in order to do that, we had to build three things. First, a data management platform so we could allow customers to upload data, integrate it with data they might have from subscriptions like Embarrass or RSEG or IHS or Wood Mackenzie. And then second, we had to have a model build component that actually would take the output of the data management process and allow a predictive model to be built. So we'd spent 6 years working on that core piece of our technology as well. And then the third thing you need is a way for customers to actually interact with the model so that they can produce forecasts either for PUD wells or PDP wells. So over the last years, that's kind of what we focused on building as a software company. The questions we're trying to help customers answer are where, when, and how they should deploy capital. So once a model is built, you can ask it these kinds of questions. You could say, well, if I were to buy the entire Permian, what would that be worth? And then all the way down to, well, I'd like to buy, like in this image here, I'd like to buy these 12 development units. So what is that worth? So it's a combination of valuing the producing wells plus trying to come up with a value for the proven undeveloped acreage. And then, of course, once you have acquired something, then the next thing you have to decide is when am I going to start developing it, and in what order. So in this case, we've settled on an acreage position up there in the northeast part of this little block. So for each one of those blocks, I could spend anywhere from 20 million to 110 million and have lots and lots of possible outcomes. So what we try to do is allow customers to very quickly understand what all these outcomes are and what the forecast would look like under each of those circumstances. So how Novi works, we allow customers to upload subsurface data, engineering data, operational data. All of that goes into a product called Data Engine, which is a piece of software that we've built over the years. And the whole purpose of Data Engine is to take, in some cases, hundreds of separate files and turn those into one analytics-ready data set. Then from there, it's fed into the second principal component of our software, which is Model Engine. So Model Engine takes a data set and builds a model and incrementally adds a whole bunch of data that goes along with that. And then third, which is the interactive piece, is Forecast Engine. So Forecast Engine can interact with a model, and it allows our customers to create many different possible development scenarios and then very quickly get forecasts out of our software for every one of the development scenarios that they're considering. So all three of those products are set up to essentially create, transform, and publish data sets. So the next question you might want to ask is, well, what do you do with all that data? So we publish all of it to our fourth piece of software called Novi Cloud. So in Novi Cloud, you'll find all of those data sets you see listed there. Each one of our software components, Data Engine, Model Engine, and Forecast Engine, all produce unique outputs. I'll go through a few of the most valuable outputs we have on the next slide. But once data has been published to Novi Cloud, customers can access it via dashboards like things like Spotfire or Tableau, Connect, or Excel even connect directly to Novi Cloud. They can also connect directly via straight database type calls, ODBC and things of that nature. So if customers want to just simply generate data with Novi and then integrate that data into downstream workflows like reserves or planning or rig scheduling or those sorts of things, they can do that as well. So to point out a couple of the most valuable data sets that we provide, first, we automatically calculate spacing, stacking, and timing data for all of the wells that are used to train our models. We also generate this kind of data automatically for any hypothetical wells that the customer is trying to appraise the value of. So we can do these calculations to generate static data. We can also do spacing calculations on the fly and generate dynamic data. So we have more than 50 calculations. We could probably spend an hour talking about every single one of those and what it means and how we use it. But for now, suffice to say, we've got a whole bunch of spacing data that's automatically created as part of our process. Second data set that's super valuable is called Shapley Data. So Shapley data is essentially derived from a model that Novi builds automatically on top of the Novi predictive model. The purpose of the Shapley model, though, is different. What we're trying to do here is to provide insight to our users in terms of how much to what degree does changing one thing impact production relative to all the other things. So, for example, if I spaced wells closer together, like in this simple screenshot here, how much will that impact production? And how much does that impact change if the design of the well is different? So in this case, the red dots are high proppant loading wells, and the blue dots are lower proppant loading wells. You can kind of see there that the model sees this difference between the size of the completion job and the impact of downspacing interacting with a larger job size. So the red dots, you can see there, the production of the wells falls much more precipitously as the wells become tighter spaced. And then second to last here, confidence intervals and forecasts. So of course our software outputs a forecast for every well that it's trained on. It also outputs forecasts for any hypothetical wells that customers create using our forecast engine software. At the same time, we also output confidence intervals as well, which is really useful for helping customers understand how risky or how much ambiguity the model sees and how much confidence the model has in every prediction that it makes. So if you're in an aim small, miss small type of environment like we are today, you might want to constrain your development to areas where your Novi model has very high confidence. And then last but not least, analog wells and weights. So basically for every prediction that Novi makes for every well, you can see all of the wells that the Novi model thought were similar to the well that it made a prediction for. So we've developed this proprietary method to go do that. We also give you, for every well that is an analog, we give you the weight. So the percent of out of 100% that well impacted the production. So I'll end with this. Why do customers go with Novi? Number one, creating these the analytics ready data sets, including proprietary transformations like spacing data and so on, really hard to do. And we feel like we've really got that nailed now that we've been doing it for 6 years. Second, our platform's battle tested. We've tested it in more than 12 shale plays internationally as well as in the lower 48. We've been to Vaca Muerta, we've been to Canada, and pretty much every major shale play in the US. Efficiency and automation, very important these days with continued focus on trying to do more with less people, less G&A. So the only way you're going to be able to accomplish great results with less people is if you have software that is driven by data and algorithms to kind of help complement your full-time employees. And then last but not least, getting things up and running quickly with relatively low risk. Creating value today. That's another thing that we think we do really well. So thanks again for listening to the short introduction here. If you want to reach me, you can hit me at jon@novilabs.com. You can also hit Novi generically, intro@novilabs.com, on the web, www.novilabs.com. And then we are also on Twitter, LinkedIn, where we are very active. And we just started a YouTube channel that has this video and all sorts of other useful product videos. So thanks again for listening.